Hi, I'm Alex English and I'm the author of Sky Pirates, The Dragon's Gold, which is the sequel to Sky Pirates, Echo, Quickthorn and The Great Beyond. I also write picture books for younger children. This is my last picture book, Stop That Dinosaur, illustrated by Ben Court. And I've also written a few other picture books, including Pirates Don't Drive Diggers. I really like pirates, look at my t-shirt. And my first picture book was Yuck, Said the Yak. So I've written quite a few books, but the latest is Sky Pirates, The Dragon's Gold. When I was a child, I always really loved adventurous stories and fantastical stories about strange places and strange creatures. So that's what I wanted to write when I wrote the Sky Pirates series. So in the first book, Echo, Quickthorn and the Great Beyond, a young and adventurous girl called Echo, who lives in a castle as a ward of the king, discovers there's a world outside the city walls that no one knows about, and goes off on an adventure with her friend or enemy Horace to try and find her missing mother. And she explores lots of different places and along that adventure. And her adventure continues in Sky Pirates, The Dragon's Gold. So now a member of the Sky Pirates crew, Echo, she's a very adventurous girl. She's sometimes too adventurous and a bit hasty and gets herself into situations that are rather unwise. So she and Horace are kidnapped. Well, Horace is kidnapped by a rival pirate crew, and Echo has to go and try and help them find this dragon treasure in order to get Horace back. So again, there's lots of kind of strange places and strange creatures and bad pirates and good pirates and dragons and all sorts of things going on in this book. I wanted it to be very full of exciting things and drama. My inspiration for the Sky Pirates series really came from a lot of places, and I think there wasn't one thing that really inspired me, but I think this idea of living in a walled city, closed off from everything else, it was partly inspired by real life things that were happening in the UK at the time with Brexit and closing ourselves off from Europe. And also I lived in France at the time, and I was really fascinated by the city of Carcassonne, which is this amazing medieval walled city, and if you look at it from above, it's like a circular walls, and then outside is quite bare. So I liked this idea of a kind of city shut away from the outside world and then discovering something amazing new that you never knew was out there before. The Sky Pirates themselves, I've just always loved pirates. I don't know why. I think it's because they're quite adventurous and a bit naughty, and they have cool outfits. And I really love the films of Studio Ghibli, a Japanese filmmaker, and they often have airships and sky pirates in. And I think I didn't want to have magic in my books. I wanted to have crazy contraptions. I also take inspiration from the real world. So, for example, in Sky Pirates, The Dragon's Gold, Echo and Gilbert come across some marshmallow llamas, which are a little bit like llamas, but they feed on marshmallows that grow in the mallow marshes, so they're actually pink and fluffy. And that's quite a common thing that I do when I'm coming up with things, is I take two cool things that I like, a llama and a marshmallow, and I smoosh them together to make a marshmallow llama, which is something completely new and a little bit crazy to go in my books. Now, I did a similar thing in Sky Pirates, Echo, Quickthorn and the Great Beyond, where at one point they come across a Goliath's man trap, which is a bit like a Venus flytrap, but instead of being tiny, it's a great big thing that can gobble a man up inside. When it comes to inspiration for my characters, I think I'm just very nosy and a little bit naughty. So whenever I go out anywhere to a cafe, or whenever I'm working out and about, which I really like to do when I can, I'm always kind of listening to people's conversations and noticing people and what they say, how they behave, people I know as well, like little kind of character traits that they have. They might be really curious, they might be a little bit shy, they might be a little bit nervous. I try and notice all these things all the time, and often write things down in my notebook, not when they're looking, but later. And so I take a lot of inspiration from real life, I would say, but I don't just take one person and copy them exactly. I might take different character traits from different people. And In the Sky Pirates series, I wanted Echo to be very adventurous and a little bit impulsive. So sometimes she gets an idea and just does it before she's thought about whether it's a good idea. And then when I created Horace, who is her friend and goes along with her on a lot of her adventures, I wanted Horace to be quite different from Echo. So I decided to make him more cautious, a little bit nervous and scared of a lot of his situations, but also those traits that he has are sometimes a positive, because sometimes he notices things that Echo doesn't, and he stops to think where she would just bowl in and be brave. So they both play off each other and complement each other in that way. And with Gilbert, the little lizard who's Echo's pet and friend and helper in other places, I don't really know where I got the idea from. I wanted her to have some kind of animal sidekick, and I really like lizards. I think they're kind of cool. I hadn't seen a lizard as a sidekick in a book before. I've seen dogs and other creatures, but not a lizard. And I like this idea that he can't really make much of a noise, but they understand each other, and they're so close that Echo knows what he's saying, even though he doesn't make any kind of noise. So yeah, he just sort of kind of arrived fully formed when I was writing, which is the beauty of writing. Sometimes you can just start and not know what on earth you're going to write, and something amazing comes out. So I would definitely recommend trying that, even if you don't know what you want to write. Sometimes something really cool can come out of it. Now I'd like to read you a little bit from chapter 4 of Sky Pirates, The Dragon's Gold, when Echo, Horace and Gilbert go cloud couching with Bulkhead, who is one of the Black Sky Wolves crew. Bulkhead squatted in front of Cloudcatcher and inserted a metal handle in a slot in the nose of the vehicle. He cranked it round once, twice, 3 times, and the little engine spluttered into life. With a whir, its propeller began to spin. "Jump in," he shouted above the roar. Horace swallowed. I think I might go and tidy my cabin. I don't want to leave my suitcase cluttering up the bunk." "Suitcases can wait." Echo clambered into the passenger seat, pulling a reluctant Horace in after her. "Look, there's even a seatbelt." She stretched the safety harness across them both and tucked Gilbert into the breast pocket of her jerkin, just his head peeping out. Bulkhead passed the 2 children some goggles and pulled on his own before strapping himself into the other seat. He grabbed 2 metal handles in both massive hands. "Ready?" he yelled above the whir of the engines. "Yes," shouted back Echo. "I suppose so," whimpered Horace. "What?" boomed Bulkhead. "Yes," Echo and Horace both shouted. "Chocks away," said Bulkhead, pulling back on the handles. Cloudcatcher wobbled up into the air before soaring past the crow's nest of the Scarlet Margaret. "Oi!" Slingshot, who was greasing the mast with an oily rag, ducked as they narrowly missed him. "Sorry," shouted Bulkhead. Echo giggled and craned her neck to see Lil squinting up at them from the forecastle. Echo gave a cheery wave, and Lil returned it, the creamy plume of her tricorn hat wafting in the breeze. Further below them on the sand, she could make out the tiny figures of Spud and Skillet wading in the surf. "Look," she pointed them out to Horace. "Maybe they're finding sea potatoes for supper." Horace took a quick glance down at the ground before grimacing and squeezing his eyes tightly shut. "My favourite." Once they'd left the bay behind and Cloudcatcher's motion had steadied, Horace finally dared to open them again. "Where are we going?" Echo asked as they whirred onwards. "Mount Flameflux." Bulkhead pointed one gloved finger at the horizon where the volcano squatted, belching out plumes of smoke. Above it, Echo saw a purple-grey mass of clouds building. But isn't that dangerous?" said Horace. "Sky pirates ain't afraid of danger," said Bulkhead. He steered the little vehicle out over the water, letting his nose drop into an alarming roll. "But I'm not a sky pirate," squeaked Horace, gripping the edge of the seat with both hands. Echo grinned. "Don't worry, you'll be safe with me," she said. As they approached Mount Flameflux, the storm crackled round them. Echo felt her hair stand on end with static. Horace squealed as a peal of thunder seemed to rumble right through Echo's bones, shaking the little flying machine and charging its frame with electricity. Gilbert ducked down in her pocket, putting both front feet over his eyes. Bulkhead drew out the Ethernet he'd taken from the bag and unrolled it on his lap with one hand while steering the little craft with the other. There was a huge crack of thunder and a bolt of lightning zigzagged down to the sea. The Ethernet fizzed with electricity, and Echo saw white sparks race along its fibres. "Hold these," said Bulkhead, swivelling the joysticks in Echo's direction. Echo grabbed one in each hand, wrestling to control them as Cloudcatcher was buffeted on the air currents. Bulkhead leaned out of his seat and whirled the ethernet round his hair like a lasso, releasing a torrent of silver sparks that spiralled into the air. The net emitted a high-pitched whistling noise, and the storm seemed to intensify, blowing Cloudcatcher here and there. "Hang on," said Bulkhead, as Cloudcatcher bucked and dropped, sending Echo's stomach into her mouth. Horace let out a yelp that was lost in a great rumble of thunder. Lightning snapped round them, searing the sky with a blinding flash of white light that sent static crackling across Echo's scalp. Bulkhead swirled the net one more time and let it go. There was a flash as the net made contact with the cloud, but it slid off and the cloud seemed to roll away from them. Bulkhead reeled the net back in. "Take her in closer," he said. Echo leaned forward over the controls, edging Cloudcatcher nearer to the eye of the storm. The closer the little vehicle got to the clouds, the harder it was to steer. Echo's very bones tingled as she grasped the controls. Bulkhead threw the net for the second time. "And gotcha!" The net let out a dazzling spray of sparks as it snared the cloud, which bucked and writhed inside it like a wild animal. Bulkhead pulled on the net, reeling it in. Echo struggled to control Cloudcatcher as the storm and the entangled cloud tossed them from side to side. "Hold her steady," shouted Bulkhead as he fought with the net. "I can't!" Echo grappled with the controls. "I think I'm going to be sick," moaned Horace. Gilbert's scales turned a terrified white and he dived headfirst into Echo's jerkin pocket. "Gah!" As the little vessel tipped onto her side, Bulkhead's hand slipped on the net and the cloud burst free, sending Cloudcatcher ricocheting backwards. How stupid of her! Echo flushed with disappointment as she wrenched the controls down. Cloudcatcher spun through the air until finally Echo steadied their course and got them level again. "Sorry," she muttered. "No worries," said Bulkhead, panting. "One more try and we'll have it." "Oh no," groaned Horace. "Can't we just go back?" But his voice was lost in the wind as Echo glared at the boiling mass of clouds and steered Cloudcatcher back into the storm. "Third time's a charm," said Bulkhead, whirling the net round his head again. He let it go. There was a bang and a bright shower of sparks erupted from the ethernet as it sprang open and snared the cloud. "Gotcha!" whooped Bulkhead, pulling back on the net with all his strength. The cloud bucked and crackled as if furious to be caught. Bulkhead wrestled with the net as Cloudcatcher was tossed about in the storm. "Keep her level!" he shouted. Echo fought against the juddering controls and tilted Cloudcatcher into the wind, where she could hold her steady against the violent breeze. "That's it," said Bulkhead, bracing his feet against Cloudcatcher's metalwork and hauling the net in hand over meaty hand. The cloud tried to dodge this way and that, but it was well and truly snared. It hissed and fizzed, sending out showers of angry sparks, but it was no good. Bulkhead deftly knotted the ends of the net around the writhing cloud, gave it a tug to make sure it was secure, and fastened it to one of Cloudcatcher's struts. He slumped back in his seat and took back the controls. Echo flexed her aching fingers. Her palms were slick with sweat, and her curls were plastered to her forehead. She grinned in relief and glanced over at Bulkhead. "Nice work," he said. "That is how we catch a cloud." And there's an awesome illustration here by the illustrator Mark Chambers, who's done an amazing job on this book. So there's some black and white illustrations throughout for you to look out for. So you might remember earlier that I was talking about my marshmallow llamas and how I'd taken an animal I like, a llama, and a sweet I like, a marshmallow, and I've smooshed them together to make a marshmallow llama. So what I would like you to do for the writing exercise is to take a creature you really like and a sweet you really like and see if you can smoosh them together to create a new crazy creature to write about. What do they look like? What do they smell like? What sort of noise do they make? Where might you find them? And what might they be doing there? And, are they a dangerous creature? Are they a friendly creature? It's really up to you. So see if you can use that to come up with a bit of a story. And I hope you have fun, and I hope you enjoy reading Sky Pirates, The Dragon's Gold.